Well, ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is that the anime Full Metal Alchemist is exactly why copyright law was invented. Right off the bat, I'll just tell you about the story and all that. Basically, the story in this anime is about these two brothers who they like kill their mom and like lose their bodies, and that basically sets them up to kind of go on this big adventure to try to, you know, bring their mom back to life and give them their bodies back. And to do this, they have to find some kind of ring, but it's not a ring, it's a stone. So right off the bat, what does this remind you of? It reminds you of The Lord of the Rings. That's right, this is a complete ripoff of The Lord of the Rings, if you've ever read those books or seen the movies. And I just wonder, what the hell would J.R. Rowling think of this? I mean, he was the author of those books, and obviously he was way ahead of his time. Full Metal Alchemist is probably the biggest, most blatant ripoff of Lord of the Rings I ever seen. So I guess this also kind of proves that maybe Japan just doesn't have to follow copyright law because they're not in America. So right off the bat, that kind of pissed me off because Lord of the Rings is awesome. I never seen I never read the books, but the movies are really cool. But that's not the first problem with this, or the first ripoff, I should say. It also rips off The Wizard of Oz. Yes, of course. If you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, it's like one of the biggest hits to come out of the 1930s. And just because it's old doesn't mean that you can get away with ripping it off, guys. And the way it rips it off is basically there's a character in the show, one of the brothers, who is basically a rip-off of Tin Man. Except he's not cool like Tin Man, because Tin Man was kind of like an axe murderer. And the guy in Full Metal Alchemist is just kind of like a whiny kid who just wants to shut up. So that's the second rip-off. And the third, and probably the most blatant ripoff, is the show rips off The Lion King. That's right, folks. One of the biggest parts of everyone's childhood has been ripped off. The way it rips off Lion King is there's a guy in the show named Scar. Now, if you remember The Lion King, Scar was like the biggest, baddest villain in the whole thing. So I don't know what they were thinking about ripping off that character. I mean, The Lion King is a classic. So anyway, that's just 3 ways that they completely rip off classic things. And also, if it wasn't enough that they rip off stuff, apparently there are 2 Full Metal Alchemists. The first one was made in like 2001 or something, and then they remade it recently. So apparently the first one sucked so bad they had to remake it. But I read about it, and apparently they didn't change any of the stuff that they ripped off in the first place. So in the end, folks, this is just a total waste of time. It completely takes everything from every generation that you've ever liked and appreciated, and it just destroys it. It makes it stupid. Now, what does FMA do that's original? Well, not much, folks, but I'm going to attempt to tell you a little bit more about the show. Basically, the villains in the show are kind of these kind of inhuman creatures called homogeneous, and basically they're named after something like the Ten Commandments, or something like that. But they have really kind of weird names. Like, one of the names is like Lust, and another name is like Envy. To be honest, folks, those sound like stripper names to me. And so I can't take those villains seriously when they sound like names that should be for strippers. I mean, don't get me wrong, folks. I like strippers, but you know, that's for a different time. So anyway, these villains kind of have special powers and stuff, and they're just kind of assholes. I mean, you just kind of want to see them get their asses kicked. But you kind of want to see everyone get their ass kicked in this show because the characters all suck. Especially, you know, as I said before, the Tin Man ripoff kid, who's like the worst character of all time. But anyway, the main guy, whose name is Ed, by the way, he kind of has like a girlfriend who kind of makes his armor or his bionic limbs and stuff. Like, he has like a fake arm and like a fake leg that he lost in the explosion that killed his mom and supposedly killed his brother, even though his brother is alive but not alive at the same time. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. It's really stupid. It's convalescent, I think is the word you would use. But anyway, the female characters whose name is Winry, by the way, you'll notice that this character is actually a complete ripoff of another character from a more popular and successful show, Fairy Tail. That's right, this character is actually a huge ripoff of the character Lucy from Fairy Tail. Yeah. Except in Fairy Tail, Lucy, you know, is actually useful and she can do stuff, but Winry just kind of whines and cries, so she's useless, like everyone else in the show. Actually, you might notice that Fairy Tail and Full Metal Alchemist are actually really similar in more ways as well. But Fairy Tail obviously does all this stuff way better, and it's just way cooler, and it's more worth your time.